Another beta for update 43 Beta 3, this time the third beta for this update. And with this update there's quite a few new changes, new items to look at. The third wing is available for the raid. So in this video, as usual, we'll take a look at all the new changes. We're going to start off with the raid Barter area, Valley of Ikorban, far northeast in Urajdar, where you'll find cave where you can barter for stuff from the raid. And as we've seen before, all the class vendors do have gold armor you can get by doing the raid, getting the items that you need and bartering for them. So the class barters have not really changed since the last update, but of course we're going to look at the main Temple of Utugbur Quartermaster. As we can see, he does have some quests. Let's take a look at those quests. You can see that he now has 3 weekly quests. So let's go through them one by one. Evils of Umbar and Ikorban weekly. Complete raids on tier 2 or higher. So this weekly requires you to complete the raid on tier 2 or higher 3 times in a week, and you actually get a cracked Umbari tracery for a gold tracery, which is quite nice. Some embers, some script, and virtual XP. This weekly is pretty nice, something that everyone should be getting for doing the raid. So I would say quite a decent weekly for the raid. Next up, we have Great Evils of Umbar and Ikorban. This weekly requires you to complete raids on the highest tier, and when they're saying raids, I'm assuming it's the newest raid. Maybe depths will count as well. I don't think like all the raids will count, of course. Maybe the raid just has to be 150, so either the Temple of Utugbur or I guess depths. Since depths is Umbar and the quest says Umbar and Ikorban, I'm assuming depths will count as well. And of course, new raid, Temple of Utugbur. And I'm curious if each wing will count as a raid. Possibly. So completing one of these give you like completing all wings would give you completion on this quest. But we'll see when that happens. But for this one at least, you have to complete raids on the highest tier, which is tier 3 for the new raids, and tier 5 on depths. And as you can see, we get some embers, ancient script, 3000 virtue XP. Pretty nice virtue XP gain on these weeklies. Love to see that. That's a pretty good change. People are lacking for some virtue XP. And there's some rep items as well for the new factions in the new area. There's also a Temple Heroes Spoils. Use to select your choice of a rare reward. Maybe someone can comment in the comments if you know what this will give. I don't know what this gives. Maybe you can pick a token that you bought it for. Different raid items possible. But in any case, you have to complete the raid on the highest tier 3 times a week. Get these rewards. And the last weekly is the Trials of Umbar and Ikorban. Complete a raid on any tier. So simply complete one raid. Gives you a cold iron token, which is used to barter in the new raid. Embers, script, virtue XP, and some rep items. So I would say this is something I like to see. Raids need weeklies, and these are pretty good. Pretty good variation of rewards depending on the tier that you run it on. I like the gold tracery, and I'm interested to see what this will give. Since it's completing the raids on the highest tier, I'm assuming you get to select. There's a rare reward. I'm assuming you get to select maybe one of these coins, get to barter for stuff, or even like any of these Zircon and Opals. Could be a good item at least. There's also quite a few new items you can actually barter for from the raid. So look at those. As we've seen before, you can get a cracked Umbari tracery by getting 25 cold iron tokens. The cold iron token is like your main token that will drop more commonly than the other rare tokens. I ran a little bit of tier 2 yesterday and I already got 3 cold iron tokens. So these will probably drop from each boss quite commonly. Probably not a 100% chance, but on higher tiers it should be 100%. But this token is like your main barter token. 25 tokens of the cold iron tokens for your tracery. And you can get lively and vivid essence boxes, needing 1 and 2 tokens plus some embers. Doing the raid will also give you script and barter with 1 token and 500 embers for embossed coffer of ancient script, giving you 1000 script. There's of course your usual return skill, your hunter guide, warden muster, and your mariner sail skill to U43. Usually quite helpful having a return skill to this place. As we can see, it's pretty far out, but we do have a mustering horn. Milestone is not really a must-have, but it's nice to have. Doesn't cost that much, 3 coins for the return skills. But it's good to see that this hub actually has a mustering horn to summon your friends, milestone to put your milestone if you want. There's also a mailbox a lot of people request, and a Vault-Keeper. So I'm quite happy about this hub. There's also a training dummy over here. People can do some parsing, but only one dummy. Might be some competition for those dummies. But continuing on with the raid rewards, some new items into this beta. We have jewelry with set bonuses. As we can see, they all require 3 cold iron tokens. They also need some of the, let's call them the older items, the crackling opal, flaming zircon, effervescent moonstone. These items will be needed, so maybe you have to run some older content to get those. I do like when they include older content in the new content, as long as it's the same level cap, which this is. So I actually don't mind this at all. I like when the previous 6 mans and 3 mans are viable and needed to run get items. But you can see that you also need one of the rarer tokens to barter for that will drop from each single boss. I did some tier 2 yesterday, as I said, and I got the iron signet of the axe. If I had an effervescent moonstone, I could now get my shining moonstone ring. But looking at these items, you can clearly see what they have. They're all the different sets. You can see the Shield of the North, Shield of the South, Hope in the Shadow, Reaver in U43, Purifier of U43. So there's 5 different sets, and I'm pretty sure their counterpart to complete the set will drop from the raid. So you have the Crackling Opal Earring, the Ring of the Ice Diamond is the other part. I'm assuming that will drop from the raid. So if you want to complete your set, you also need to run the raid, get the drop, as well as getting the items to barter for these jewelry. Looking at the set bonuses themselves, the first 2 are similar. The only difference is parry and evade chance. Every time you BP or partially BP, you have a 5% chance to proc this, 6% incoming healing, and 4% parry or evade for 7 seconds. And there's also a 375 vitality bonus for having this set. So people will just have to sit down, do the math, find out if this is viable or worth having. And for the other sets, of course, the Shining Moonstone Ring, that Hope in the Shadow, is for healers, 10% chance re-heal to proc 10% outgoing healing, and 5% single target healing crit chance for 7 seconds. Also a vitality bonus like the other ones have as well. The final 2 are for DPS. First one is for physical, melee, and range damage. Every attack you have a 5% chance to proc the damage buff. And the last one is for tactical damage, and I presume if it works with your other jewelry, you will definitely be getting these for DPS, and I assume healers as well. Tanks are the only ones I'm not sure about. Looking at these stats, not that great, and the set bonuses, not that great either, but depends on the individual player and if the stats make it worthwhile. But for sure, healers will want to get this set. DPS will definitely want to get this set. Also, like we've seen before, portents can be bartered for from this raid vendor. You need 12 cold iron tokens and then 1 of the individual signets. Well, actually, you need 2. So each portent will need 2 of the tokens to barter for, as well as 12 cold iron tokens. I've also heard that the portents now share cooldown, which is really good change if that's true. Meaning that if you're a DPS, you will be getting the DPS portent. If you're a tank healer, you will probably get the negate portent. And I think the vitality one will not be used. But good news if they share cooldown. But in any case, if you haven't done the Ill Omens event, you can now get your portents from the raid. At the bottom here we have some housing items. Not sure if they're new or not. Don't think I've seen them before. The Hooded Tomb Watcher, facing right or left. There's also a chest of U43 and a chest of Ardith Lord. So some housing items for people to enjoy that. If you've been running the raid Depths of Magda-Corbo, you might have gotten your hands on these offhands by Curious or Roundume. As you can see, my tooltips here are 532, but from the raid drop it's actually 525. So this is the version that you get from the raid. If you have this, you can now upgrade your offhands by getting 7 cold iron tokens and one of these tokens, giving your offhands increased stats and DPS as well. This change is done to bring them on par with the other offhands dropping from the raid. There's a club, an axe, and a dagger dropping from the raid, and you'll still have these swords to be at the same level. There's also new pocket items to get, but they're not really new, they're just upgradable. So if we take a look at my pocket on my Guardian, you have the heavy token of Umbar, and if we look at the Barter, I can get a heavy token of Utug Bur. And taking a look at the stats, it's an increase of vitality, might, hits, the bonus stays the same of course, but it's basically increased stats. And to get this you need your gold pocket, you need 3 cold iron tokens, and as well as 2 jets. So with this raid we can upgrade our offhands, and we can also upgrade our pocket items. Some changes to the Burglar class. When the Minstrel uses Call to Greatness, it resets one of your skills. Currently on live it's resetting Coup de Grace, which is not intended, but it has now been fixed that it actually resets your DPS cooldown, Knives Out. So CDG from the Minstrel will now reset Knives Out, no longer Coup de Grace. Another good change for the Burglar is to the trait Focused Strikes. This has been changed into a toggle skill. On live, you have to decide if you want to have Focused Strikes or not, because it's not a toggle skill, it's a trait. But to explain what this trait used to do, if you have this traded, Double-Edged Strike and Flashing Blades are only single target instead of AoE, but they deal a little bit more damage. But having this skill as a toggle skill gives the Burg more freedom to decide when they want to get some more single target damage or actually have some increased AoE damage. So when Focused Strikes is not toggled, Double-Edged Strikes, Flashing Blades is AoE, as you can see, max 9 targets, and you can see the damage as well. Let me toggle this skill. It should now be single target but deal more damage. As we can see, damage has increased but no longer AoE. So if you're just fighting one single boss, of course you want to have this toggled, giving more damage to Flashing Blades and Double-Edged Strike. Brawlers can finally block when they're traded into blue, the Fulcrum. As you can see, I'm traded blue right now on my Brawler, and I actually have block chance. Even without having a shield, good change for the Brawler tank. Champion tanks can now block in blue line even when you're dual wielding. Previously, you could only block if you had a two-handed weapon, as we can see from the trait down here, but you can now block while having 2 weapons equipped. Tiny buff for Hunter. The set bonus from the insignia of the Shagani Hawks has been changed a little bit. As we all know, you apply a Barbed Arrow, then Pen Shot to get an extra bleed. So Barbed Arrow is now active. Now use Pen Shot to get the extra bleed. And this change that has happened with this update is that the bleed is now the same duration as Pen Shot. The bleed used to be every 2 seconds for 8 seconds, but it is now same as Pen Shot, 10 seconds. So you basically get an extra pulse of the bleed. And this dummy is killing me. But yeah, small buff to the set bonus for Hunter, giving you that extra pulse for bleeding puncture. Rune-Keeper receives a tiny nerf. Mystifying Flames is now additive, no longer multiplicative, meaning that this is more in line with other classes in damage buffs. Menacing Tentacles, which can drop from the higher tiers of Depths of Magda-Corbo, can now actually drop on tier 3 as well, and also has an increased drop rate on tier 4 and tier 5 soft locks. So it should be way easier for people to get your Menacing Tentacles running tier 3 through tier 5 of Depths of Magda-Corbo. If you enjoyed the video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing, as it really helps out the channel. And if you like LOTRO, I would really recommend joining my Discord servers. You can also support me directly through my Ko-fi website. If you're playing or looking to play Lord of the Rings online, there is one place you need to be. The Ghyniverse is a Discord server created for the community of the players of Lord of the Rings Online. The server is getting close to 7,000 members, and in this server you'll find tons of helpful information. There's monthly giveaways, easy access to patch notes, you can keep up with my YouTube videos, my streams. If you're a streamer, you can ask for the streamer role and you can announce your streams in the other stream channel. There are discussion channels for pretty much everything, every class, monster players. But the best thing about this server is probably the Gearing Resources tab, where you can find anything from trait lines for every class, every build. There are stat goals, where you can find out what stats you should aim for on your characters. Really helpful information about drop rates from instances, as well as screenshot from all the new loot that appears in the game. If you enjoy LOTRO, you should definitely consider joining this server, and hopefully I'll see you in Middle-earth. If you were part of the Ghyniverse already, you might have noticed that another tab appeared at the top, the LFF server. This server is a brand new server that I created, the LFF Ghyniverse. In this server, you can select which servers you want to keep up with, and once you select your server, say you select Arkenstone, you will see the LFF, the kinship advertisement, looking for kinship and trade channels, and there's also voice channels if people want to use those. The LFF channel is basically a looking for fellowship channel where people can post if they need players for the runs, and this way people don't have to be logged into the game to see the chat, they can just instead get a notification on their Discord. There's also a kinship advertisement page where kins can post their kinship advertisement and have people join their kins, and you can also post in the looking for kinship chat if you're looking for a kinship, but make sure to take a look in the kinship advertisement first and look through all the kin to find a suitable kin for you. There's also a trade channel if people want to buy or sell stuff that you can use. Hopefully you'll consider joining this server to bring the community even more together, not just in the game, but also outside of the game.